Doppler radar. It's a good way, unfortunately, to look at some of these super impressive winds. These are colors you don't normally see. Usually it's all about the red and green. We're talking about tornadoes. When you see these colors, that's extreme stuff. I'm going to ask Cameron just to pop on a couple of these numbers where you see these brown colors down here, because that's where we could be talking about some super high wind values. There we go. How about 124 miles per hour? So that's what the radar is reading. And again, it's not an extreme distance. Yeah, this is, the Earth is round, so when the radar beam shoots out, it goes up as you get farther out there. But we are seeing wind gusts on the east and the west side of this center in that 115 to 130 mile range. What's interesting here is it looks as though right now those strongest winds being observed by the radar are actually on the west side. They will wrap around, but that's why we say this whole core is dangerous. This is not just an east side, bad, west side, yawn, everything's just fine. Not going to be the case. And once you get out here, the winds aren't a problem. But here, we're talking about those winds that are aloft, 115 to 130 miles per hour. They can get shoved down to the ground. And even if they lose 20% of their value, so if you only get 80% of these winds, we're still talking about near 100 mile per hour winds, certainly in gusts. That is very, very possible. I'll put this into motion to give you a better idea where it kind of shows how this whole thing is rotating. We'll continue to watch this, but just know that it's coming. Here's the radar loop over the last hour showing that leading edge now touching the Taylor County coast, wrapping around the really heavy rain starting to move into Highway 98. Really heavy stuff, not quite as heavy right along I-10, and not as bad yet over South Georgia, but it's coming that way. So prepare for 75 mile per hour winds or higher from Thomasville to Valdosta to Nashville to Fargo to Homerville to Quitman. Expect that. If somehow you don't get that, consider yourself blessed. By 2 o'clock, it's still over areas north of Highway 84. And then it continues to move away. It'll still be windy, and it'll still be a little bit rainy over South Georgia, but it will get better. Let's check out some winds and see what's being recorded right now. 60 mile per hour gusts still down to our south. Locally, the winds are still not quite that bad. This is such a tight core, which is why you may just think, I don't believe it's going to happen. There are your current gusts. 51 in Live Oak. 52, that's the current wind gust in Perry. 44 Alligator Point, 58 Apalachicola. So now we're getting into the damaging wind territory. And the forecast still shows for higher gusts. This is just a model, but it's forecasting anywhere from 65 to 75 to 112 mile per hour gusts to come through the Big Bend, and then 75 to nearly 90 mile per hour gusts coming across South Georgia. Western areas, 45 to 55 mile per hour gusts are certainly possible, and that will cause some power outages. So that's where we stand right now. The worst of it is beginning along the coast, moving at 25 miles per hour. It won't take long. So in 4 hours, it will have moved 100 miles, and the worst of it will be north of us. But get through the next 4 hours, and then we can start thinking about doing the cleanup tomorrow. So let's toss it on back to Jacob and Julie.
Really not much more you can say after that. That's a very sobering forecast, and we're really thinking about our folks in Taylor County right now.
Indeed, and along the coast, Franklin, and we'll call the intensity of those colors, Mike. I was going to say some of those colors I've never seen before.
No, and hopefully we'll never see them again, but that's how bad this is right now.
All right, landfall is imminent.
116 miles an hour, 131 miles an hour, recorded up to 140 miles an hour. Just incredible, extreme winds that our area is facing tonight. So we hope that everyone who's watching right now is safe. It might be a little scary here for the next couple of hours as this storm moves in full effect, and it's really startling to see the impact it's having.
Yeah, absolutely. We do want to let you know that Georgia state leaders have now activated a travel alert webpage for anyone who has left their home during this hurricane. There is a lot more information about if you're away from home, emergency resources in the area you are in. Perhaps you know someone who fled the Big Bend or South Georgia to move more to Middle Georgia or North Georgia. Some resources there. We do invite you to look up that website for yourself. We also have video of coastal flooding in other parts of Florida. This is in Pinellas County, I believe, and you can see this is from earlier in the day. You can tell there's still light out. This storm has just seen flood after flood all over the state of Florida, from Fort Myers, Siesta Key, all the way up Pinellas County, and now, of course, our area is at center stage, unfortunately, right now.
Absolutely. And this storm, I mean, the power outages in our area are increasing quickly. And the power outages downstate are significant as well. More than 200,000 people without power across the state right now. You can see the intensity of some of the winds here, and storm surge, of course, a huge concern. In some places, the surge, the waves, the power of the water, enough to carry a car away.
Right. I believe this is in the Winter Garden area, so that's Orlando Metro. So, far from the coast, the state of Florida is seeing tropical impacts. And for those that are close to the coast right now, it is the worst of the worst. It was just 13 months ago we were talking about the worst hurricane ever to hit the Big Bend in recorded history. And by all accounts, it appears that Helene's about to knock Idalia off the top there and become the most impactful storm we've seen. And for those folks in Taylor, Madison, Suwannee, Lowndes County that thought Idalia was the worst thing they'd ever seen, unfortunately, they may have to reconsider that.
When that changed again to a Category 4 storm this evening as it approached our area, really, really concerning. We hope that everybody is inside and safe at this moment. And just, wow, the wind and the rain, I really can't get over Mike's forecast just now,
right.
Those updates, and it's causing power outages, of course, to increase moment by moment. Let's go ahead and check in with Abby and Ava to share more on how many people in our area are facing those right now.
Well, Julie, you hit it on the head, moment by moment. I keep refreshing. We're going to go through several of our local utilities, and I keep refreshing, and it keeps updating more and more and more. So right now we're taking a look at Telquin Electric, which covers a lot of the Tallahassee, Leon County area. Right now, about a little over 2,300 people are without power right here. Let's take a look at Tallahassee right here. And I'm going to refresh it just to get the latest numbers. Literally within a few minutes, this went from like 3,600 to now 5,600 people without power. So as you were saying, Julie, it's going very, very rapidly.
All right, let's check this one. We've got Tri-County here.
Okay, this is Tri-County, and let's see right here. We have outage. We're getting into the Madison, Monticello, Perry area. As you can see, these numbers, especially as you're getting towards the Taylor County area, are starting to increase pretty rapidly.
They certainly are. Let's see here. We've got Suwannee County.
Yes, Suwannee Valley Electric.
So we've got 86, it looks like, total.
Yes,
outages.
and you're seeing a lot of them. Look, in Suwannee County, 2.4, Lafayette County, 1.5. You can start to see as the conditions are deteriorating in those areas, people are losing power very quickly.
All right. And there we are with Duke Energy.
And right in that coastal area, you can see Apalachicola and the Panacea area. Again, people losing power rapidly in those areas as well.
That's right. 2,000 here by Cedar Key.
It's amazing. And as you were saying, moment by moment, as we get closer to landfall, we knew this was going to happen. That's why hopefully all of you have charged your electronics, portable batteries, things like that. And a reminder, they can still get us. Even if your TV loses power, you can still access us.
That's right. You can access us using the radio. We've got iHeartMedia. The radio stations are streaming us live.
And absolutely, and of course, the WCTV news app, our WCTV Facebook page. We're going to be with you through this entire thing. Julie and Jacob, we're going to send it back to you, and then, of course, we'll continue updating you on these power outages throughout the evening.
All right, Abby, thank you so much. And for the Idalia 1 year mark, I went out to Madison and to Live Oak to talk to Tri-County Electric and Suwannee Valley Electric about what they learned during Idalia, and at the time, what they were just learning with Debbie, thinking that was this year's main event. Of course, now we know with Helene, and in Madison for Tri-County Electric, they had just built a new bunker that they could go to during potential Category 3 or 4 storms to make sure that they can keep the grid as good as it can get during a storm and keep tabs. So I'd imagine our friends at Tri-County Electric are in that bunker right now because Madison is certainly under that extreme wind warning.
Right, and here we are, and Abby mentioned how quickly these numbers and outages are changing. When we were about to walk into the studio, it was about 700 people, then it was 2,500 people, now apparently 5,600 people. And I think one of the things that makes this storm particularly frightening beyond the intensity of the wind and rain is the fact that it's happening in the dark.
Right.
So when the power goes out, then you're really in the dark.
And with Idalia, landfall was between 7 and 8 in the morning, so it was dark for much of the lead up. But soon after the storm moved out of the area, the sun also rose and allowed folks to immediately examine the damage. Here, it's going to be hours before the sun rises, and that's going to be a tricky time from when the damage is done and when it's actually safe to take a peek outside and see what's going on.
And throughout the evening, and we'll continue throughout the night, sharing glimpses of the weather all across the state of Florida and most especially here in our area. This is a live look just outside of Tampa. You can see plenty of white-capped water there rushing onto the roadway. This is down in southwest Florida. So this turbulent storm obviously is creating havoc all along Florida's Gulf Coast. And again, we want to share as many of our local cameras and statewide cameras with you as we can.
Right.
This is a really safe way for us to show you what's happening in some unsafe places.
Yes, safety's number one priority for all of you out there and for us here as we work to bring you this coverage. And hopefully we can show some cameras of Perry, Cameron, because right now it is Perry and then Madison and then some other communities that are really going to start seeing the worst of the worst here.
Yeah, we have some new information as well to pass along to everyone. We have the new 10 o'clock advisory from the National Hurricane Center. For most of it, it's unchanged. Those winds up to 140 miles per hour, still a Category 4 storm. The pressure once again falling down to 939 millibars, pushing off to the north-northeast at 24 miles per hour. Again, landfall is imminent within the hour or so, close to the Big Bend area. As we go over the next couple of hours, we see that push further inland, and because of the quick forward speed, we are anticipating some impacts as far north as those South Georgia counties as well before eventually Helene is out of our hair by early Friday morning as it pushes off into northern Georgia and the Carolinas and Tennessee as well. Right now, though, this is the current scene on Hurricane Helene on the radar, and this is the eye wall. Notice all the lightning in the eye wall, especially on the western side of that eye wall. This indicates a very strong eye wall. This will continue pushing off to the north-northeast. So again, we will see landfall soon enough over parts of Jefferson County, pushing into Perry County, as you see there, close to the Perry area, also pushing close to the Taylor Jefferson County border, I should say, over the next couple of minutes there. We do have that high wind warning also in place, all thanks to that eye wall. And you can see here, this is not only a coastal situation because of how quickly that Helene is moving. This will continue pushing off to the I-10 corridor, also close to the Florida and the Georgia border. You see there Lamont close to the 1030 area, Madison close to 1046, and Asheville close to 11 o'clock. Let's go a little bit closer into our friends in Taylor County. Some very rough weather right now for Keaton Beach, also in Steinhatchee, also going downhill in Perry, Shady Grove, Madison over to Mayo and Lafayette County, and this will continue to go downhill as Helene pushes inland. Tracking more nasty weather in Wakulla County, southern Jefferson County, also in the capital city for Leon County, and you can see the western side of that eye wall beginning to approach parts of Wakulla County, also close to Alligator Point over in Franklin County at this hour. Moving over to South Georgia, the weather not as bad yet, but again, don't let your guard down. Helene will continue moving inland, and that will bring more gusty winds, more heavy rainfall to our friends in South Georgia, close to the I-75 corridor especially. This is that rare extreme wind warning that's in place until midnight this evening for eastern Leon, eastern Wakulla, all of Jefferson, all of Madison, all of Taylor County. That also includes parts of Lafayette, Suwannee, and Hamilton County as well. So this is an extreme wind warning. Treat this as you would a tornado warning. If you stayed behind, be sure to hunker down. Be sure to to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible and get away from those windows, as we could see winds upwards of 100, possibly more than 100 miles per hour as Helene moves inland. Right now, we're gusting to 52 in Perry, gusting to 51 for Live Oak, gusting to 37 in the capital city, up to 58 miles per hour, the current gust at the coast in Apalachicola. But again, we could see those winds upwards of 80, 90, 100, maybe more than 100 miles per hour. Notice Lafayette High School, again, this is just one model run. Not saying this will happen, but the potential is there that we could see those gusts up to or more than 100 miles per hour near into the east of that center of circulation. And again, as it moves inland, places like Valdosta, Thomasville, close to Cairo as well, tracking the potential for some very gusty winds, possibly up to 50, 60, 70, or more than 70 miles per hour. But again, some light at the end of the tunnel as we do see a drier spell by the time we go into early parts of your Friday morning as that calmer weather is on the way. What's up?
The St. Mark's Lighthouse weather stem is reporting winds right now of 42 gusting to 60. So this is just, again, just starting to see those gusts along the coast exceeding 60 miles per hour.
And I think we have a camera there at St. Okay, right. We'll get to it in a minute, but like we talked about,
yeah,
we have
they're not going to have power for lights probably, but anything we can show. But yes, Weather stem is a great source to monitor right now. You can look at those coastal counties. So you can just put in weather stem Franklin, weather stem Wakulla, weather stem the county name, and then you can look at the different stations.
There you go. That's a great tool to have as well as Helene moves inland. Also want to give this update. The new tornado watch is now in place, again, along into the east of that center of circulation, and that will last until 6 o'clock Friday morning. So just be sure through the overnight hours that you have a way to receive warnings. Like we talked about, these tornado warnings can pop up very quickly with the tropical systems. That runs from Monticello to Thomasville and back to the east, close to the I-75 corridor. So just have a way to receive warnings as we go into the overnight hours. And that's also where we find that level 2 slight risk of severe weather from the Storm Prediction Center. We also have a flood watch in place for the potential for more than 1, 2, 3, maybe up to 5 or 6 inches of rain on top of the rain that we had on Wednesday and the rain that we had earlier today. So we could see some freshwater rain flooding along with the saltwater storm surge flooding close to the coast. I don't know if we have that camera or not, but if not, let's go ahead and check back in with Jacob and Julie at the desk, and we'll have more updates as we have more on Helene in just a few more minutes.
Yeah, those cameras are in the dark, but we do have traffic cameras in Perry we'll keep an eye on, and where there are some cameras that it looks like a snowstorm because you can see the rain going by. So we have a Franklin County camera that shows a lot of the rain. I don't know if we can pull up now or if there we go. So this is Franklin County, and you can see it's 1 or 2 seconds of lag every time, but it tells you the story that the wind is intense and the waves and the water also very intense.
Absolutely. So we'll continue to check across our viewing area tonight, even though it's dark. Hopefully it gives us just a glimpse of conditions out there this evening.
I believe we're going to check in with our Zach Dahlheimer in a minute or two, or just about right now, because he's been watching all of this unfold from Giles High School as over 1,500 people have been made the move into a shelter today to try to see how things play out. Zach, what are you seeing out there at this hour?
Well, Jacob, like you mentioned, more than 1,600 people that Leon County Schools said earlier tonight, and more than 230 pets. They're in shelters like this here at Giles High School. This is one of 8 shelters set up at schools all across Leon County because of conditions like you're seeing behind me. Now, I want to point out, like I did earlier, Matt, Sam, and I, we are under a covered stairway right now, close to the wall and the door where we're writing this all out because we're trying to be as safe as possible while showing you the current conditions. But I want you to come with me now. Take a look at this as the light goes up against the wall here on the outside of where we're standing. You can see just the steady rain that continues to get a little bit stronger as throughout the hour here on the north side of Tallahassee. And the wind is pretty steady right now. It's picking up a little bit, but it's kind of similar to where it was around an hour or so ago. But as I said, as conditions continue to evolve and the wind picks up, there's also been a power outage here at Childs High School. We lost power for about 30 seconds, about 10 minutes ago, and the power came right back on. But just over to my left in the gymnasium, that is where many people are riding out this storm as we speak. They made the choice to come to here or the 7 other Leon County schools to hunker down and to ride this all out. And we're not just talking about folks living here in Leon County. We talked with folks from Wakulla County, and we're told some of the other counties, especially with those mandatory evacuation orders, Franklin County, Taylor County, they made their way up here to shelter in place, and especially many with their pets too. So because it's definitely important to make sure that yourself, but also your loved ones and your four-legged friends are safe too. They have a lot of resources, of course, inside the shelter, lots of cots, room for air mattresses. They're providing refreshments. They have a live television feed watching the storm as it continues to move on through closer as we're approaching that landfall, of course, and as we're delivering, of course, the current conditions as well. But again, right here at Childs High, north side of town, the rain is continuing to be steady, picking up a little bit, the wind also picking up as well. We're going to go ahead and head on back inside, but of course, we'll be checking with you throughout the night, of course, as conditions continue to evolve right here in Tallahassee. But of course, this right here is the reason why you should not be outside at this time. We're live at Childs High School in Leon County. I'm Zach Dahlheimer. Julie Jacob, we'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, Zach, stay safe, and we know you'll do just that as Tallahassee is still going to experience some significant winds, even though the eye wall appears to be moving into Taylor County's coast right now. Tallahassee will still be certainly something we're watching. This is video from Southwest Florida as Helene moves in. You can see Lee County's Sheriff's Office posting this impressive video. Lots of communities all along Florida's coast underwater tonight, and certainly a concerning situation there, but locally is the focus. A lot of our communities facing some of the worst weather they've ever seen.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a live look at the camera there on Main Street in Perry. You can see the raindrops there on the lens and the wind buffeting that camera right in the heart of Perry. This community is getting pummeled by this storm tonight. Sadly, they've been through so much in the last year plus in terms of landfalls and storm damage. So this gives us a glimpse too of the conditions they're facing right now. And Zach was in that shelter here in Leon County, but as he mentioned earlier, there are people there from Taylor County, from Franklin County, from all of our coastal areas who've been ordered to evacuate, and the conditions we're seeing right now are the very reason why.
And John Lauk, the emergency management director at Taylor County, was on our air talking to us live about a couple hours ago. He said he thought about 500 people had decided to stay in Taylor County to ride out Helene. So and so we're certainly hoping those folks are in that interior room right now, and hopefully we can return to this camera because I think the eye wall is approaching the Perry area, and we're going to certainly be close, keeping close eye on this camera and all the action going on in Taylor County.
And as more and more of our viewers are losing power tonight, we invite you to continue to listen, to continue to watch. You can do so. iHeart radio stations in Tallahassee are simulcasting our broadcast tonight, so you'll be able to continue to receive critical information from your WCTV First Alert weather team and, of course, our news team. Those are the stations right there on your screen: X101.5, 105.3, 107.1, 96.5, 94.9, and 100.7. All of them sharing our broadcast tonight in hopes that together we can help to keep you safe and keep you company, really, in some really frightening hours ahead.
Yeah, frightening indeed. Let's show you some video. This was FSU students relocating to, I believe, the Turnbull Conference Center. This was something we brought to your attention a few hours ago. We were talking about how initially FSU was going to keep on-campus students in their residence halls. They made the decision this morning to take those students to the Turnbull Conference Center. They said it had recently undergone some improvements for hurricane upgrades and safety. The Tucker Center also was a shelter that was opened up exclusively for off-campus FSU students or any FSU student who wanted to ride out the storm safely.
Right, and keep in mind that we have tens of thousands of college students in our community: FSU, FAMU, Tallahassee State College, many of them here from locations and cities and states that don't deal with hurricanes. So I'm sure that their parents are watching and worried tonight, Mike, and we want to make sure that they have the best information possible.
Right. And this is something, now, none of us have been through anything like this, but if you're from a non-tropical climate, yeah, this is something that it's maybe even less fun. It's not fun for anybody. This is a nightmare setup. It really is, because it is bringing the worst of it right up into Appalachia Bay. It may not bring the worst conditions I've ever seen over our western Big Bend counties, because you are on the right side of Michael, not the good side, the right side. But now, most of the viewing area, especially up the middle and the eastern half, they're all going to be within this core of what now is 140 mile per hour Hurricane Helene. That was the last wind report coming up from the hurricane hunters, and still moving off toward the north-northeast at 24 miles per hour. Latest pressure down to 939. So pressure continues to drop. Now, it can't happen much longer because it's about to make landfall within the half hour. Since it's moving so quickly, still will be a Category 2 hurricane, very likely through all of our South Georgia counties too. So it'll become a 3 and then a 2, but still, it is very likely that most of our eastern counties in the Big Bend and our eastern counties over South Georgia, so again, roughly aligned from Cairo to Thomasville, and east of that, you're going to see those gusts at or above hurricane force, and a possibility of seeing some gusts over 100 miles per hour. I talked about the hurricane hunters flying out of Keesler Air Force Base, been flying through Helene this evening, going back and forth, giving us this valuable information. And that was that last report that went by. It looks like 938 and 146. So again, it's just about run out of time, thank goodness, because it just kept on losing pressure, which meant that the winds would respond and get stronger. So let's get to the real deal. There's the ugly radar truth of all of this. The core of this has moved well into Taylor County. The heaviest rainfall, the strongest winds are now working their way in over the coast toward Perry. So they've already moved into Steinhatchee. Steinhatchee is in that eye wall right now with the most intense part. The area, the eye out here, where you're going to have the lighter winds, may be calm. It's not going to be around long because this is moving so quickly. But also note the western side. Cameron and I have been looking at the western side of this, and the winds look just as strong on the western side of this right now. And there are still some flashes of lightning to talk about too. Let's look at just that over the last hour. Kind of a neat little look at it, because you see how when these clusters of convection kind of wrap around that. Thankfully, we don't see as much now as we saw maybe a half hour ago, but because usually when you see those clusters of lightning like that, it can lead to more lift, creates lower pressure, leads to the winds responding. But because it's moving so quickly, it's about to run out of time for that to happen. So let's put it into motion over the last hour. There's your fast motion moving inland. You get a better idea of the really intense, incredibly heavy tropical rains coming down through parts of Taylor County, coastal Jefferson County, getting it on the act, coastal Wakulla County, especially over towards St. Mark's. I've been watching the weather stem station in St. Mark's there by the wildlife refuge and by the lighthouse, and it's been consistently reporting wind gusts over 60 miles per hour for about the last 15 minutes. I suspect they're going to get a lot higher, because out here we've been measuring some even higher winds. The rest of this, the rain getting progressively heavier across the rest of the Big Bend, now extending north of I-10. South Georgia, for the most part, you're getting just the rain right now. You're not getting the intense winds. I think the worst will reach South Georgia after about midnight. This is just an estimate. I just drew a line roughly where I think that leading edge of the worst of the weather. Again, because it could be a little bit over here, and even though it doesn't look too bad there, this part is going to rotate through you. So based on that, we're looking at least some of this working its way up through eastern Wakulla County. So getting pretty close to Crawfordville, Woodville, Tallahassee, all of that before we get to 11 o'clock for this to get underway. By getting into Madison. Again, this is the beginning of when I expect the worst conditions to happen. All right, so this isn't going to be the worst of it. This is the beginning of the worst of it. Getting into Valdosta after midnight. So again, crossing over the state line roughly around midnight. It'll still be ongoing over the Big Bend. It's going to take a solid 2 hours for this to get through the Big Bend, and then another 2 hours to get through South Georgia. That's what I expect to happen. Here's the Doppler radar in velocity mode. Out here is where we have the incredible velocities. They're strong here too, but this is the area that Cameron and I have been looking at. And so I'm going to ask him just to hit the button a couple of times, and we'll see what the radar is estimating with some of these winds out here. So, all right, so we know they're stronger than 86. There we go. Now we're looking at 103. Let's keep checking, because I guarantee there are going to be some stronger ones out there that could be, and we've seen them as high as, well, there's one on the eastern eye wall of 119 miles per hour. You get the idea. It's an intense major hurricane. There are going to be many winds aloft that are over 100 to 120 miles per hour that could get shoved down to the surface. They won't be everywhere. It'll be in bursts, and it will mow down the tops of trees, knock them down, break them off, widespread power outages. I guarantee the power outages will ramp up drastically during the next hour as this continues to move toward the northeast. But these are the winds being measured aloft, and the intense rainfall rates coming with it are going to push those strong winds down toward the surface. So there are some of the ugly colors which you typically don't see when we're talking about velocity mode. With all that in mind, of course, there's going to be extreme wind, tornado-type winds coming down for many areas through eastern Leon, eastern Wakulla, Jefferson, Madison, Taylor, Lafayette, western Suwannee, western Hamilton counties. Now, this could very well be extended up into South Georgia. This is really just for the next hour or two. And then as it goes farther north, we could see some incredible winds there too. Here's what the future cast looks like. The most important part here is the fact that it keeps on moving. Let's talk a little bit about Southwest Georgia and the Western Big Bend. You're saying, what about us? Well, because this thing is so strong, you are still going to get 45 to 55 mile per hour winds, but it's a lot less likely because this core is so tightly wound up that you'll see those extreme winds. Excuse me, but also because the forward speed is about 25 miles per hour, that actually helps to reduce the winds that get down to the surface over here. It's just the way that an intense tropical system like this that's moving quickly will do. It's not much, but it's definitely a lot lower over our western counties. By the time we get to 2:33 a.m., the center of that will be departing our northeastern South Georgia counties, and then we'll start to see some rapid improvement. The rain will come to an end. The winds, it will take a while to die down. It'll still be windy, but it'll keep getting better and better. Current winds still getting lots of gusts to around 60 along the west central coast of Florida, and they've been dealing with that for quite a while. Sustained winds locally. Perry now, sustained wind at tropical storm force at 40. But let's talk gusts, because here's where we start to see those bigger numbers. Looks like Alligator Point has stopped reporting, but I guarantee they're getting these gusts similar to what Perry's getting, if not higher. So right now, Perry's reporting gusts to 63, getting closer to hurricane strength. The inland gusts otherwise about 30, but Tallahassee getting those gusts closer to 50. That's high enough. It's going to start ramping up the power outages. So if you've lasted this long with your power from Tallahassee eastward, there's a very good chance that during the next hour, you're going to lose it. And then probably about another hour after that, it's very likely to happen over the South Georgia counties. The futurecast wind gusts going from roughly now through the next few hours. Again, it's a model, but it's just painting this potential of 75 to 85, perhaps even near 100 mile per hour wind gusts get to 130. And it's still showing, what's interesting here, it actually picks up the eye. It's showing a 90 mile per hour gust in Valdosta, an 86 mile per hour gust in Tifton, but 25 in Moultrie. That's showing that center, 66 in Camilla. So there's your low, the center, and then Moultrie. So it's not going to go calm in the eye. It'll still be a little breezy, but you still do not want to venture out at all. Don't do it. It's deadly. Don't do it. There are too many things that could be on the ground, and the rapid return of the hurricane force winds will occur. So just to wrap it up, the core moving into the center, about to make landfall along the Taylor County coast. It looks as though it will probably go just north of where Idalia went into Keaton Beach. It'll stay north of Steinhatchee, but that doesn't mean anything because they've been in this eye wall. They're still getting the worst of it, and the western side is really strong too. It's really intense, and that is starting to bump into the Wakulla County coast. That's what will move up through parts of Leon County, through all of the eastern half of the Big Bend, all the eastern half of our South Georgia counties during the next 3 to 4 hours.
All right, now is certainly the time where everyone needs to stay inside their safe room. I know with the tornado and you're in inside your safe space, that could be 15, 20, 30 minutes. This is much longer, so it tests the patience.
This is a big tornado. That's how you have to treat it. I say there's a tornado warning for all those areas that I had in that red box. That's how you have to treat it.
Right. It's a scary situation, and we're keeping a close eye on Perry. As you mentioned, the radar picking up a wind gust of 119, and this is a live look, again, at that traffic camera at 319 and 98 at Hampton Spring Avenue, and you can see this is dramatically worse than what we saw just 15, 20 minutes ago.
I was going to say just minutes ago, we looked at this same scene, but you can see, wow, the winds are really much more powerful in this view than they were just moments ago.
Right, and we have Leon County Sheriff Walt McNeil on the phone with us, as Leon County is certainly not out of the worst of it as Helene moves ashore.
Yeah, Sheriff McNeil, thank you so much for joining us tonight. First of all, I want to ask, where are you riding out this storm? And I know you're in the loop. I'm wondering if you're hearing any reports yet of any damages or road closures or anything like that that's happening as the weight of the storm is in full effect.
Well, good evening, Julie, and thank you all for the great coverage you always do, providing us the assistance. Right now, it looks like we aren't having any major issues. We believe, obviously, that the worst is still ahead of us, and we're prepared to respond after all the events that are happening here tonight. I can tell you we are somewhat fortunate in that the path of the hurricane changed. That's been significantly helpful to the folks in Leon County. But it also tells us we've got great work to do in assisting the other counties, depending on how badly we're hurt. But it does look like that Leon County's missed the worst of it. And where I am, I'm here at the Consolidated Dispatch Agency with my deputies and the dispatchers and EMS, just waiting it out and seeing exactly what this is going to look like tomorrow morning.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and we wanted to ask you about the timeline, a difficult timing with the landfall happening just before midnight. And so how do your deputies plan to respond to this emergency, two emergencies that are received by the CDA with folks needing help overnight? Are your deputies going to go out overnight, or are you going to wait until sunrise to examine the damage?
Well, we've pretty much made this clear to our citizens for several years. You know, we have to make sure that the situations are not so dangerous that we put ourselves and citizens in harm's way. So if the winds are higher than 40 miles an hour, we are not on the roadways. We will take all the information about those persons, and once we get the all clear, we'll go out and make those our first priorities.
And Sheriff, deputies have a lot of job descriptions on a night like this and a day like tomorrow, blocking off roadways that may have hazards involved. Give me some idea of what they will be doing once it's safe to go outside.
Well, we have a number of missions that we'll be involved in. One, perhaps the most important one, is working with our power restoration staff from all over the country that's coming here at the city of Tallahassee and Leon County has contracted with, and so we'll make sure that we can assist them in getting power restoration. That also means that we've got to do an assessment of the damage as relates to which roads are available, and we want to. I said this in our press conference earlier this week. We want to make sure that our citizens hopefully will abide by the request we've made, which is not get out tomorrow morning and start driving around. There's going to be trees down, which is another priority of ours, trying to get those trees cleared. We have chainsaw crews that are working or will be working tomorrow morning first thing, because we know that's a high priority. But as many of our citizens, we want them to help us as well. We can coordinate that assistance. But please, let's be organized in the way we try to do this. we have so many folks driving around. I saw the last time, just trying to see what the damage is, and the traffic was horrendous. And we hope that we don't have that same situation that happens this time.
Right, and I was going to ask you your advice for folks who are very eager to get out of their homes and examine the damage. It seems clear that we want Friday to be just as precautionary and stay off the roads just like Thursday was, because who knows what the road conditions will be tomorrow. So, Sheriff, we really appreciate your time. Is there anything else you'd want Leon County residents to know at this hour?
Well, let's just say a prayer for our brothers and sisters in those counties in the Big Bend that are hit, particularly Taylor County, that seems like it's had 3 of these direct hits in a row. And we are going to do everything we can to recover here and respond to assist our fellow friends and families around the Big Bend.
Sheriff McNeil, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We wish you and all your deputies and first responders safety in the hours ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Let's go to the across the Georgia border. Thomas County Emergency Services just a moment ago sharing some updated info with us. They said their Red Cross shelter at Cross Creek Elementary is still open. They've also reported some road closures. That includes on Cone Road from Lower Boston to Joyner Road. Really, no one should be on any road anywhere in our viewing area right now. They, of course, are urging people to stay in place, shelter where you are right now.
All right, we want to check in with Abrea Ruffin. She is in South Georgia for us this evening, monitoring conditions there. Abrea, fill us in. What are you seeing right now?
Yeah, Julie, Jacob, right now it's really just a waiting game. We're waiting for the storm impacts. We're waiting to see what the aftermath is going to look like. We were told that South Georgia may not really see impacts until around midnight, so we're still waiting to see that get to our area. As you can see right now, there's a very light drizzle outside. There's a little bit of wind. We see the flagpole kind of moving aggressively, and then we see the trees and the tree branches kind of flowing as well. But again, not much out here. So of course the roadways are clear right now. Residents are inside as they should be. Stacy and I are here at the Decatur County Sheriff's Office. We're waiting with them and their deputies. We're going to be waiting out the storm and providing you guys updates when we do start seeing impacts. So we'll keep you guys updated and let you know if we see any changes out here. But for now, I'll send it back to you guys at the desk.
Okay, our Abrea Ruffin in the Decatur County area for us tonight, and even though it's farther west than some of the core winds are expected to go, certainly no one in our South Georgia counties will be scot-free with this storm.
Absolutely. I don't know that anyone in our viewing area will be scot-free after this storm. It is so big and so powerful. So, boy, these impacts just far and wide. We want to check in right now with our Capitol Bureau reporter, Cody Butler. He is monitoring things at Florida State Operations Center here in Tallahassee. Cody, fill us in. What's the latest there?
Yeah, Julie and Jacob, we are expecting to hear from Governor Ron DeSantis and Florida Emergency Management Director Kevin Guthrie here in about 20 minutes or so here at the State Emergency Operations Center as the storm does make landfall here in the next few hours or so here here in Florida. Earlier today, the governor was encouraging people to hunker down, stay where they're at right now, and not go out and survey damage. This is a nighttime landfall, so we know people are going to want to go out and inspect the damage. He's encouraging people to wait until daylight to go out and see. We don't know how dangerous it could be because the power lines will be down, trees will be down, so it will be very difficult to navigate it. I also asked him how things will go with the restoration efforts with this being a nighttime landfall, and he says that they do have the capabilities of working at night. Again, some of those operations will wait until daylight, like cutting trees and getting power lines restored. Some of that's going to wait till daytime. There's kind of a system in place where there are crews scattered throughout the areas that are affected by this, as well as crews on the outside waiting to come in. And once it's safe to do so, they will go out and start clearing the roads, start getting the trees off the roads, start getting the power lines off the roads, start getting power restored. One of the things that the state has done differently over the years is kind of pre-stage these things so that they can restore things quicker. Power outages is kind of their gauge right now. They want to get power back on as quickly as possible after a hurricane goes through. over the last few storms, we've seen power out for a couple days in the hardest hit areas instead of a couple weeks like we've seen before. So this storm is like no other. They're working on trying to get the power back on as quickly as possible once it is safe to do so. Again, we'll have more updates on what the state is doing here shortly from the governor here at the State Emergency Operations Center, which will be here on WCTV, so make sure you stay with us. Reporting live at the State Emergency Operations Center here in Tallahassee, Cody Butler, WCTV Eyewitness News.
All right, Cody, we will check in with you soon. Hopefully the governor can share some updated facts and figures as he's been keeping close eye on this landfalling hurricane as it's expected to be making landfall any minute. This is Perry again, and this is the camera we just took moments ago, and it looks, again, drastically different, and perhaps the lights are out, I believe. I guess they might be flashing lights. Street lights are now dark when they weren't just a moment ago, which is no surprise given the expected wind gusts.
Absolutely.
There.
You know, Mike mentioned just moments ago that there were gusts in that area of almost 120 miles an hour. So really, really significant winds impacting Taylor County at this hour, Franklin County at this hour. Just incredible power behind Hurricane Helene.
And I'm just thinking of all the folks that we've gotten to know over the last year covering Idalia's aftermath. Our reporters and our anchors, everyone has gotten to know so many people who were devastated by Idalia, and I'm just thinking of every single one of them as they once again go through the unthinkable. So our thoughts are certainly with you, and we'll be checking in with you in the aftermath here to make sure you're doing okay. Now, again, this is the time when power is going out and radio could be your friend instead of TV or cable. We have partnered with iHeart radio stations in the capital city. They are simulcasting, so if you're listening to us, you can hear our voice. We appreciate you trying to stay tuned and informed during the worst of the worst. If you can't hear us or if you can't see what's on your screen, again, those radio stations are 101.5, 105.3, 107.1, 96.5, 94.9, or 100.7. Any of those will get you to our simulcast.
Of course, and this is a great time to download our WCTV First Alert weather app as well. You will get all of the alerts and updates on that as well. So we want to stick with you throughout the night tonight. We're going to be here with you until the storm has moved through a region. That is Florida, that is Georgia. Right now we want to check in with Cam Aaron to learn the very latest on this storm as it really storms ashore.
Yeah. And Cam, sorry to cut off you there for a second. We did want to show our reporter from our sister station, Cutter Martin, is in Perry, and his camera's been going in and out for us. But if we could patch in his camera feed, this is a live look at Perry right now. And just an incredible scene. Looks like static on a television when you don't have a signal. The wind forcing that rain to just blow sideways. As you can see, they try to keep the camera clean.
I don't know even why he's wiping off the camera lens there. This rain is blowing sideways. It is so hard. You can see somebody there in a rain slicker jetting by. Cutter Martin has been bringing us updates throughout the evening from Perry, and we were going to check in with him a moment ago, but the camera went dark. This is why you can see the intense wind and rain in Taylor County right this minute.
So we will keep close tabs. I believe we are supposed to check in with Cutter after the 11 o'clock hour, perhaps after the governor's press conference. So we will hopefully get the latest from Perry, as that is just hard to comprehend. And Cameron, the radar backs up those images right now.
Yeah, guys, I mean, your heart really breaks for the people of Taylor County after what all they went through with Idalia and then Debbie, and now another big blow, if not the biggest blow so far. This is Hurricane Helene. Now, the weather going downhill like we just saw in Perry, but also going downhill for places like Monticello, like in the capital city, also in Crawfordville. But again, this is the latest update on Hurricane Helene as it moves over parts of Appalachia Bay right now. And this is a list of those approximate arrival times of the worst of the weather. So again, places like Madison, a heads up, close to the I-10 corridor as we approach the 11 o'clock hour, Asheville 11:10, over to near Thomasville 11:34, and also a heads up close to Valdosta, close to the 11:45 hour as Helene continues to push off to the north very quickly. So again, like we talked about, this will take a little bit of time for it to wind itself down. So we could see that hurricane extend all the way up into parts of South Georgia. Let's zoom into Taylor County. Some absolutely nasty weather for Keaton Beach, also in Steinhatchee and Perry as well. And again, here is the eye, and this is Taylor County. This is the coastline here, so we should see a landfall very, very soon in Taylor County, very close to Keaton Beach, if not a little bit to the north and west of Keaton Beach. But again, the worst of the weather coming through Perry right now. Heads up Shady Grove, heads up Madison, heads up Monticello. This pushing into your direction as it moves off to the north and northeast very, very quickly. Also in the capital city in Tallahassee, we are tracking these bands of showers as they push across parts of Leon County. We had one heavy band push through the capital city not too long ago, had some very heavy rain at the station, also some gusty winds, and we have another band pushing through parts of southeastern Leon County close to Woodville. So a heads up, this will continue rotating off to the north and west. So we will see another round of some very gusty winds, more heavy rainfall in the capital city. Also in Crawfordville, also over to near Sopchoppy and Wakulla County, all these areas. Go ahead and hunker down. Just go ahead and be indoors. Stay away from those windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Right now, just some moderate rain to heavy rain for some of us in South Georgia. But again, don't let your guard down. As Helene pushes inland, this will also be a South Georgia issue as we go close to midnight and after midnight as well. Now, this is a pretty rare event from the National Weather Service in Tallahassee, an extreme wind warning. This will last until midnight for eastern Leon, eastern Wakulla, all of Jefferson, all of Madison, all of Taylor County, also for parts of Hamilton County, parts of Suwannee, and parts of Lafayette County. Again, treat this as you would a tornado warning, as we could see winds upwards or more than 100 miles per hour, especially as you get close to the coast and near the center of circulation as Helene moves inland. We are gusting to 66 in Perry, gusting to 49 for Tallahassee, gusting to 57 over in Madison County. And again, we could see these gusts go even higher as we go over the next few minutes. What's up?
I just want to make sure that you saw that Alligator Point had a gust to 103 at the weather stem station.
There you go. Your mic's up now.
So there was a gust to 103 at the Alligator Point weather stem station, and just about 2 minutes ago, a gust to 80 at Wakulla High School at their weather stem station.
Again, Mike, I mean, Wakulla High School and Alligator Point, they are to the west of the center of circulation.
They are to the left. So
Crawfordville, Tallahassee, don't just think, oh, we're west of the center. This is fine.
It's still coming to Tallahassee. It's still coming.
It can still be pretty serious. So again, that's why we're saying stay indoors, stay away from those windows, and keep up with us for the very latest. Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at meteorologist Josh Green. He is outside our station in the capital city in Tallahassee. And Josh, I talked about more of those gusty winds, more of that heavy rainfall pushing through Tallahassee. What do you got right now?
Yeah, Cam, you were spot on. We just had a really strong band push through. As it was pushing through, kind of like that, some of the lights started flickering here in the parking lot. Those have kind of come back on. That tells me that some of the generators are going to start to blow here in the capital city. I'm standing right outside the station in northeast Tallahassee. Cameron and Mike doing a great job of keeping our entire area informed, but I'm here because I want to let you know, in case you're watching, if you're from Tallahassee, maybe you evacuated, or if you're here, I'm outside to let you know what's going on so you don't have to go outside at all. And what's happening right now is we're starting to get some of those tropical storm force wind gusts, like that one you just saw a second ago. Those are around 35 to 40 miles per hour. We've got sustained winds here in the capital city of around 20 to 30 miles per hour. Those are slowly starting to go up as well. This is not the worst of the storm for Tallahassee. That eye is about to move onshore in Taylor County. As it does that, the western side of the hurricane is very powerful. All right, typically it's the eastern side that does it all. That eastern side is certainly very strong, but that western side has a lot of convection. It's got a lot of heavy rain, and it's got a lot of those damaging winds as well. Those are going to start to move through by the time we get to around, I'd say, 11:30, midnight, all the way up until 1 a.m. So from 11 to 1, that's where Tallahassee is going to get the brunt of this hurricane. I believe we were tossing back to Cameron, or we were talking with him. All right, we'll go ahead and toss it back to Cameron. We will continue to keep you updated here as some of those inner bands and eventually that core of the hurricane passes just to the east of Tallahassee. I'll make sure to keep you updated and keep you safe.
All right, thank you so much, Josh. We are still waiting on the new advisory from the National Hurricane Center. That should come out in just a few minutes, but right now we still have a Category 4 Hurricane Helene. Those current winds, 140 miles per hour. The pressure down to 939 millibars. This will be one for the record books for the Big Bend of Florida and possibly all the way up into South Georgia. We could see a Category 2 storm all the way up into South Georgia because of the fast motion moving off to the north-northeast at 24 miles per hour. Now again, this is just one model, so don't take these numbers to the bank, but this is showing the potential that we could see winds upwards of 80, 90, possibly more than 90 miles per hour as this pushes inland close to the center of circulation. And again, check out Valdosta after midnight, close to 1 a.m., possibly up to 80, 90 mile per hour. Now again, these are gusts, but still, that will do damage. That will knock down trees, that will knock out power. That's why it's very important that everyone take this seriously, whether you are on the east side or the west side of that circulation. All of us, for most of us, I should say, have a hurricane warning, a tropical storm warning in effect for Jackson, also in Calhoun County as you get further west into the Panhandle. We also have this, a tornado watch in place until 6 o'clock in the morning on Friday. So be sure that you have a way to receive warnings. As you know, those tropical tornadoes, they spin up and they spin down very quickly. So you may not have a whole lot of lead time with that to go into tonight, to go into early parts of Friday, from Thomasville to Monticello and back to the east, close to the Interstate 75 corridor. Of course, we'll have more updates as Hurricane Helene is moments away from making landfall into Big Bend and eventually pushing off into South Georgia. Julie, Jacob, back to you.
Okay, very important information, Cam, and we'll keep a close touch with our weather team as landfall is imminent, and we'll find out exactly where along the coastline the landfall is, but it's in Taylor County, but 3 landfalling hurricanes in 13 months is still hard to comprehend.
Yeah, it's incredible what that community has had to deal with and what they will be dealing with tonight. They mentioned that wind gusts there 119 miles an hour, and I'm not sure if that's the worst of it yet. This is the view again on Main Street in Perry. The lights are out, the wind intense, and the rain continues to pelt the camera.
Yeah, difficult view to see, but just nasty conditions. Don't see any debris rolling down the road, so perhaps that's a good sign, but there certainly will be widespread damage, trees down, and the power's already out in Taylor County for sure. So we will keep a close tab on our Perry cameras. We're also keeping close eye on the western side, as our meteorologists have been saying, with Franklin County and Wakulla County. And we do have video of power going out in Taylor County. Let's show you this. This is the moment power went out in Taylor County just a moment ago. You can see the wind and the rain, and then there goes the lights.
And there it goes. And the lightning.
Just a frightening, eerie experience for anyone to experience, and hopefully everyone in Taylor County is still in their safe space. They haven't ventured out yet. Even if conditions die down for a brief moment, don't go anywhere, because the concern is still of those damaging wind gusts. We did want to check in with Abby and Ava. They are keeping a close tab on those power outage numbers for much of the day and into the evening. We were looking good, but we knew that was going to change, Abby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with all this extreme wind, of course, there's going to be an uptick in power outages. We're going to take a look now. Tri-County Electric. Abby, something's wrong with my...
Okay, all right. We are looking at the Tri-County Electric right now. 6,900 people without power right now. Again, that's growing steadily. Let's take a look. Swanee Valley, let me refresh this here. Let's see. This, you can see, is really high right now. We're up to almost 15,000 people in this area for the Swanee Valley Electric area. You can see kind of by county. Lafayette County is skyrocketing, as well as Swanee County. Again, Swanee County, almost 10,000 people without power. Let's go to the Duke outage map right now. We'll take a look at that. Let's refresh right here. Again, as Julie was saying earlier, literally minute by minute, every time that we redo this, there seems to be more and more. 3,000 along the coast right here, Panacea, 2,000. Let's take a look at Tallahassee. This one is really growing every time that we take a look at it. 10,000 people. And then in Talquin Electric, let's see. Ava, how many people do we have here?
Okay, it's 10,421.
All right, so again, as conditions go downward, these numbers are going to go up. if you have friends that are in one of these areas where you know that they have lost power, maybe text them and say, okay, maybe your TV is out, maybe your power is out. You can still get information from WCTV. You can do our news app, WCTV News app. You can go to our Facebook page. We have radio partners.
That's right.
iHeartMedia, their radio stations. You can turn on their stations and you'll hear this broadcast. So text your friends. There's a lot of ways to still get the information.
There certainly is.
All right, Julie and Jacob, we're going to continue monitoring these outages and we'll continue updating you throughout the evening. We're going to send it back to you.
So tens of thousands of people across our viewing area right now in the dark. We're not sure how long these outages could last. Certainly the strength of the storm will, cause a lot of trees to fall, a lot of power lines to fall. So this is something we're going to be dealing with for overnight and certainly into the next few days.
And just for reference, after Idalia for Tri-County Electric, for example, and for Swanee Valley Electric, it took about 8 days to get the power fully restored or close to fully restored. And that was with a massive mutual aid effort. Safe to say it could be another time frame of a week or longer with this storm. We'll have to wait and see on that front. We did want to show you some video that we captured outside the EOC here in Tallahassee, the Southwood neighborhood, wind and rain blowing. And so as the governor gets set to address the state in just a moment, these are the conditions they are dealing with down there.
Absolutely, and this is the beauty and the danger of Tallahassee and this area in general is in the incredible old large trees. We've got the pines, we've got the oaks, also beautiful on a daily basis, but when storms come, so many of them wind up falling.
Right, just trees that have been around for hundreds of years could snap tonight because of Helene's winds. So certainly something we're going to keep an eye on, and hopefully everyone's staying safe out there. In Swanee County, they have 3 shelters open tonight. That's Swanee Pineview Elementary, Branford Elementary, and Swanee Springcrest Elementary. This video from Live Oak area earlier today. The sheriff's office and emergency crews are working out of the school district building, and the sheriff, Sam St. John, says once the storm passes, they'll have help arriving from all over the state.
Indian River is going to be coming up here, after the storm to assist us, with any type of law enforcement needs that we may have. Also, reach out to FEMA and the state EOC in Tallahassee for assets and all. So what they're doing, they're just kind of waiting to see after the storm to see, what damage, who has the most damage and where the damage is at.
Swanee County ordered a mandatory evacuation for folks living in a mobile home and in flood-prone areas. So we're certainly hoping those folks heeded that advice and rode out the storm in a shelter.
I was going to say, when we were checking some of the gusts and such just a few minutes ago, there were huge wind gusts in Live Oak, also in Lafayette County, not far away. So lots of communities tonight feeling the impact of this storm as we speak.
And if you're watching us on TV and suddenly we cut out, this is, again, your backup option, radio. We are partnering with iHeartRadio, as Abby mentioned just a moment ago. Those stations on your screen, great options if you still want to get Mike's up-to-the-minute forecast as we get through the overnight hours. 101.5, 100.7, 107.1, 105.3, 96.5, and 94.9.
And this storm could be making landfall any moment. We want to go ahead and check back in with Mike McCall. Update us, Mike. Where do things stand right now?
In about the last 15 minutes, we've seen 2 gusts from weather stem stations over 100 miles per hour. So at Wakulla High, in just the last couple of minutes, had a gust to 101 miles per hour. At Alligator Point, the weather stem station had a gust to 103. Those are both on the west side of the circulation. So I've been saying all along, this is a big, strong system. It's just as strong on the west side as the east side is right now around that eye wall. And the eye wall is not just a little tiny spot near the center. It's literally a spot that's 25 miles across. That's the size of the eye. We'll show you radar. We'll check some wind gusts here in just a moment. The 11 o'clock advisory is in. No changes, but it's just about to make landfall. It's literally, they could call it Keaton Beach. It looks like it's going to be a little bit north, so maybe they'll call it Deacle Beach. We'll see. That's what I think they'll call it any time now as the center crosses land. But the pressure got down. I saw from reconnaissance down as low as 937. Right now they're saying 938 and winds at 140. I don't think we'll see winds to 140 anywhere that are measured, but obviously we're going to see winds over 100 miles per hour because we already have, and that's just from one little area from Alligator Point to Wakulla High. That's near the coast, and that whole area is moving inland. Now it is moving quickly, still 24 miles per hour, so yes, so by tomorrow morning it's way up here into northern parts of Georgia by 8 o'clock, so still thinking that it's for the next hour to perhaps 2 hours across the Big Bend, and then midnight until 2, maybe 3 a.m. across South Georgia. I'm going to add a little extra time because I don't want people to think that it's going to end that quickly, because even though it's moving fast, we've already seen just how impressive this is with already some gusts over 100. The remnants by the weekend way up here, our weather is about to get better in a few hours over the southern parts of the area. But here's the setup. Current radar, so there's that center, which is just about to make landfall on the Taylor County coast. It's this area and this. This is the band right here that is wrapped around the center. Now, since it wrapped around the center, just because we haven't had reports doesn't mean that those kind of winds haven't happened up into northern Taylor County or coastal Jefferson, eastern Wakulla, southeastern Leon. These are just where we have stations that are picking this up. So I guarantee there are trees going down. The power outages are ramping up rapidly right now from Tallahassee to Monticello to Greenville and certainly into Perry, St. Marks, Crawfordville, down to Alligator Point. That's kind of where the core of it is right now, but it is moving off toward the northeast still at 24 miles per hour. So if anything, the eastern side, especially the southern sides, where you can see a little bit of a weakness, but this is a large, large system. So you look at that last piece. So that's roughly from O'Brien. So now we're getting into Suwannee County, across Mayo, through Perry, and up into Woodville, back through Crawfordville to Alligator Point. That's the width of the core of this really nasty stuff that's moving off toward the northeast. So there's Keaton Beach. Deacle Beach is just north of that. So again, it doesn't really matter. It's the center. It's about to cross land. That means that half the storm has moved across the coast, because this is all really nasty stuff. And look at the band here. It's actually really intense. That's worked its way into Gadsden County. So Havana, Quincy, Midway, you could be seeing some of those damaging wind gusts and some power outages anytime now too. As we speak, looks like there's a tornado warning for this cell, again, just outside of our area. But after I talk about this, I'm going to ask Cameron to maybe have, well, we're going to go to velocity in a moment. So when we do that, we'll check that out. Here's what we expect over the next couple of hours, just based on this width, and maybe I didn't even extend it out too far. Maybe I should have included as far as Quincy. So I still think that the worst is generally from Tallahassee to Cairo and points east, but absolutely there are going to be some damaging wind gusts west of that line. So we're looking at getting into Live Oak in the very near future, getting to Valdosta and into South Georgia after midnight. And the reason that you don't see Tallahassee on this is because it's already moving into Tallahassee as we speak. This is just the beginning of the worst weather. It's not just going to be here. This is the beginning of the worst weather. So that's already into Tallahassee. It's already into Crawfordville. And when all the stuff wraps around, we're going to continue to see those gusts, which could exceed 100 miles per hour. There's the incredibly impressive core of winds measured by radar, colors that you don't normally see. Cameron, let's first start with see if we can get some numbers out of that stuff in Taylor County. See if we can get the radar to give us any estimates of the wind speeds, okay? Now, this is Doppler radar measured. So it's going to be up in the air a little bit because it can't shoot a completely straight line along the ground, but we're seeing the winds measured over Taylor County in excess of 100 miles per hour right now. So it's a pretty good bet that those are reaching the surface with those intense rain bands. On the west side, where we've already seen the wind gusts exceeding 100 miles per hour at Wakulla High and at Alligator Point, we're seeing the winds here with the area now, which is a little more offshore, exceeding 100 miles per hour. So these are the Doppler measured winds, but I think these are a real good indicator of what we are seeing. Now, if you can, Cameron, let's just slide, let's go to storm relative velocity and slide eastward just to have a quick look at that tornado warning that's east. I think it's going to be more over here toward Columbia County, so east of Suwannee County. The radar will probably have to. All right, radars. I think what's happening now is it's trying to access another radar which is not there. So I have to rely on the Tallahassee radar. Well, what I can tell you is I do not see any of that rotation getting into Suwannee County. You're in the area where you can see some 100-mile-an-hour winds. So you need to treat the next hour to hour and a half as if the whole county is under a tornado warning anyway, okay? That's how you should treat this. That also means Shady Grove, Madison, Lee, Dowling Park, Mayo, yes.
We got extreme wind warning for Lowndes, Thomas, and Brooks until 2.
Okay, so the extreme wind warning has been extended. We expected that to happen. That's already been in place over the eastern parts of the Big Bend. That has been extended up into parts of South Georgia for this stuff right here, which is going to move up into Eccles, Lowndes, Brooks counties, Thomas counties. So these are the areas that could see those extreme winds perhaps exceeding 100 miles per hour. These are going north, but they're still kind of wrapping around. So Tallahassee, we're going to check winds in Tallahassee coming up in just a moment. But yeah, it looks like some of the radars are kind of struggling to keep up right now. So let's get off of these and we'll start talking about a couple more things. There's the extreme wind warning, which now has been bumped upward as expected across parts of South Georgia. That's just because the strongest winds are moving northward. So that's, we saw that heavy band over into Quincy, so they maybe not reaching levels for this, but even Bainbridge, Quincy, Hosford, you could see some of those damaging wind gusts, which might be 50 or 60 miles per hour. That's plenty to knock down some trees and cause some more widespread power outages. May not reach hurricane strength, but it's still going to be some damaging stuff. The heaviest rainfall, I haven't talked much about the rainfall, incredible rates with this core. Even though it's moving quickly, we're talking several inches per hour rainfall rates. Blinding rain, you wouldn't be able to see it anyway because it's being blown. And you're inside in a safe place, so you can't see it. But yes, this could cause some more flash flooding. The good news here is that our eastern counties really haven't seen a lot of the heaviest rainfall. So even though this is going to be a flash flood type of thing where it's a rapid burst, I don't think it'll be piled on top of the heavy rain like our western sections have seen. Did you have something else, Cameron?
Yeah, I just want to pass along that the National Weather Service in Jacksonville is calling a confirmed tornado through emergency management. That does include southeastern Hamilton County, so I just want to put that out there. We have it up in max 2. I also want to pass along that the radar in Jacksonville and Valdosta is down, so that's why we can't see it from.
Yeah, so our radar tries to switch to the closer radars and can't see it. So this is as close as we're going to get. But so this warning, yeah, so it's down here by Lake City. So that's Columbia County, that's outside of our viewing area, but Hamilton County is. So here's the Suwannee River, eastern Hamilton County. So extreme eastern Hamilton County. Just get into your safe place for the next hour. Just as I said, from Taylor to Madison to the northern half of Lafayette, Suwannee counties, Hamilton, yes, you should all be in a safe place right now. Time to go, sitting there for an hour. We'll keep updating you, obviously, but this tornado warning, that's just part of all of this going on. It's just within what we can see, but it is possible it can skirt right up against the extreme eastern parts of Hamilton County. All right, let's go back to Max 1, and we'll go ahead and start looking at some winds. So here's the extreme wind warning. Here's the future cast showing that the core of this, by the time we get to around 3 a.m., the heart of it will have exited our Georgia counties. Still could be some wraparound rain, but that will quickly come to an end too. So before the sun comes up, most if not all the rain will be gone. The wind gusts out over the water aren't really an issue anymore because now they're moving inland. So now we're talking sustained winds. These are 1-minute averages, 49 miles per hour in Perry. That's the sustained wind. The other winds, not too bad, but now we start talking some gust. There we go. There's the first gust I've seen above hurricane force from the regular reporting stations. A gust of 76 in Perry coming in from the east. That's because that center is moving ashore along the Taylor County coast, Keaton Beach, Deacle Beach. 53, the gust in Thomasville. So now we're starting to see those dangerous gusts working their way up into South Georgia, even though the center hasn't even crossed the coast just yet. That shows you how large it is. In case you missed it, I did see 2 reported gusts over 100 miles per hour on the west side. Wakulla High at 101, Alligator Point at 103 from the weather stem stations there. Very reliable data coming in from those stations. Gusting to 59 right now at Madison High. So when I showed you that graphic that showed the beginning of the worst of it, that's what I mean. So it's already underway here, but that beginning, you can maybe just throw Thomasville into that. The beginning of the worst of it is reaching you and will only get worse during the next several hours, well, say 2 to 3 hours as it moves from south to north. So we can expect widespread 75 to 85, perhaps 100 mile per hour gusts from Tallahassee to Thomasville to Valdosta to Live Oak to Perry. West of that, I think we'll still see some 50 to 60 mile per hour gusts from Bainbridge to Quincy, down to around Fort Braden and Bloxham, up to Camilla. All those areas are possible. Even farther west, you head out toward Chattahoochee. Yes, this will not be as bad as what you had with Michael, because Michael came in this way and you were on the eastern side of that. Now you're far enough removed and on the western side that you're only getting winds of 50 miles per hour or so. That's the best we can do, I'm afraid, because the system is just so darn intense. Speaking of which, as we move ahead past the midnight hour, look at these forecast winds still here. There's showing that where it expects the center to be. That's why Moultrie's winds are so light when you've got these 60 to 90 mile per hour winds wrapping around that. And they're still gusting beyond 60 miles per hour from Perry to Mayo and close to that in Tallahassee. So it could take until 2 a.m. for the winds to start to relax a little bit across the Big Bend, because it's just such a large and powerful system. And then finally beyond 3:30, and certainly by the time we get to mid-morning tomorrow, this will all be out of here. So we'll keep an eye on this one cell that's just racing through, that could just graze by the eastern parts of Hamilton County. I don't really see it there, just embedded within the heavy rainfall. But the main story is Helene is making landfall as we speak. I expect to see a special notification at any moment. All right, Governor DeSantis is talking now as it's making landfall.
All right, let's check in with the governor at this hour. Landfall imminent. Let's see what Governor DeSantis has to say.
Storm with maximum sustained winds of 140 miles per hour. It is moving northeast at 24 mile per hour. Hurricane force winds are extending up to 60 miles from the center of the storm, and tropical storm force winds are extending 300 miles from the center of the storm. I'm joined here, of course, by Kevin Guthrie, the Division of Emergency Management Executive Director, as well as Dave Kerner, Executive Director of the Florida Highway Patrol. We have had a report of a fatality on the roadway, car driving on I-4 near Ybor City in Tampa, was hit when a sign fell onto the highway. So that just shows you that it's very dangerous conditions out there. You need to be right now just hunkering down. Now is not the time to be going out. Not only are we seeing it hit landfall here in northern Florida, you're still seeing surge and water rising in parts of Florida far south from the Big Bend area. So you look at southwest Florida, you look at the Tampa Bay area, you're seeing really significant amounts of surge. There's going to be streets that are flooded and will continue to flood all up and down the west coast of Florida. So it's hazardous conditions right now, and please, do not be going outside until things settle down. We know that travel on the roads can be hazardous, and we typically, unfortunately, will have fatalities in every storm from that. when you are out on the roads in the middle of one of these storms, that is very, very dangerous. So please do not do that. Stay put. Also, if you're sheltering in place, know your surroundings in terms of trees. You are going to see trees that are going to get knocked down. I'm sure some have already been knocked down. But you have these 140-mile-an-hour winds hitting here in North Florida. This is going to extend. I mean, you're going to have hurricane-force winds that are going to extend across a couple counties to the east and west of Taylor County. And that's going to cause trees to fall down. If you are in an area where you have that, please take precautions there. Treat it almost like a tornado as that's going by you for there. We have many major bridges that have been closed throughout today at various points. Most of the major bridges, of course, in places like Tampa Bay have been closed. And they will be open as soon as it's safe to reopen them. We have FDOT, they're standing by. As soon as it's safe, they're going to go in there, do the inspections, and get those bridges open again. You may, if you're here in North Florida, you may have a period of calm when you are in the eye of the storm. Just understand that storm is not done. And it's very, very hazardous to go out for there, especially with how fast this storm is moving. You're going to be putting yourself in jeopardy if you try to go out in the middle of the eye wall of the storm. We are going to see down power lines. Those are very hazardous as well. Please do not mess with any down power lines in and around your home or anywhere you may come in contact with them. Also, be very careful about standing water. People get up in the morning when it's light out. There's going to be standing water in a lot of parts of this state. Don't go trudging through that. There's going to be a lot of hazards that could be in there, and just please be mindful of that. The storm is going to pass, and when it does pass, you're going to have still going to be dark outside. Do not go out in the pitch black trying to navigate any debris or anything. That's just not going to be the safe thing to do. Wait till you get light and you can take stock of what's going on in your property and govern accordingly from there. When you're using ladders, please be safe with that. We do have fatalities involving people climbing on ladders, trying to get to their roofs and falling, and that happens almost every storm. Please just be very careful with that. And also, of course, there's going to be an enormous amount of debris in various places, and you could have down power lines, you could have dangerous objects. Just be very careful when you're around the debris. Also, be careful about using a generator. Do not use a generator inside your house. There have been power outages. There's going to be more power outages. You can use a generator, but make sure you're running it outside your home. Keep it away from windows and keep it away from the doors. We have not had fatalities in the more recent storms with misuse of generators, but that has happened in the past, and this is something that's very much avoidable. So the state is ready as soon as this storm passes and it's safe to do so, to commence search and rescue operations. We have 3,500 National Guardsmen standing by. We have our state guards standing by. We have state troopers standing by, and they will be active if need be. And I know we have a lot of our local first responders are going to be ready to be able to be on scene as well as needed. We're also going to be ready for road clearing. There is going to be debris on the roads. We want to get these roads open. We want to make sure that people can travel safely. And so our Florida Department of Transportation is standing by for cut and toss operations, and those will begin as soon as it's safe to do so. They're also going to go in and inspect the bridges so we can ensure they're safe and can be reopened. They have 40 large pumps to be able to pump water out of areas that have flooded, as well as almost 700 generators. And then, of course, another mission is going to be power restoration. We have tens of thousands of linemen that are standing by. I think people have seen some of the pictures that we've seen from TECO, from Duke Energy, from FP&L, and they are going to be on scene probably as soon as it's light outside in the morning. And so you'll have all day Friday a full day worth of power restoration. I think they're going to get a lot done. Obviously, we're going to have to navigate this debris, and hopefully they're going to be able to have easy access to these power lines. But this is a priority to be able to get the power restored as quickly as possible. And then we're also standing by to help with disaster supplies for people that need them. We have meals ready to eat, of course, the water mission, bottled water, Starlink internet devices, fuel for folks who may need fuel. So that all is standing by and ready to be done. And there'll be a lot more that is going to be done as circumstances warrant. If you need assistance, non-emergency assistance after the storm, you can call the State Assistance Information Line at 1-800-342-3557. Now, this is not for emergencies. If you are in a situation where it's emergency, you make the normal emergency calls. This is for non-emergency assistance involving the aftermath of the storm, and we urge you to call that number if you need help. So we are here. We're going to face the storm in Tallahassee. I think we're on the west side of the storm, but I think the winds are actually going to be very, very significant. And even though the eye of the storm has entered into Taylor County, you are absolutely going to see major, major gusts in Jefferson County, in Wakulla County, in Leon County. That's going to happen. So we'll be here at the EOC through that process. And then when it's safe to kind of be liberated from here, we're going to be out and about surveying the damage and coordinating the response. With that, I will bring up Kevin Guthrie.
Thank you, Governor. Hurricane Helene is, as the governor mentioned, is currently making landfall in the Big Bend area of Florida. Please shelter in place, as the governor has said. Stay indoors. Again, I like his analogy of treat this like a tornado right now. Again, those individuals along Deckle Beach, maybe even as close as Steinhatchee, you're probably seeing very, very clear skies right now. That's because you're in the eye of the hurricane. If you can't hear us and you have power, please do not go outside. That eye wall is going to close on the back side momentarily, probably within the next 15 to 30 minutes as it continues to make landfall. So please stay indoors. Roads are dangerous due to the flooding, debris, potential downlines. Do not risk it. We have numerous roads that FHP and DOT are responding to now that are underwater, and we do not want anybody to drive through that. So please, again, turn around, do not drown. You never know what's underneath that roadway. If you are hearing trees snapping in your area, take immediate shelter. Go to an interior room away from windows and doors, most likely an interior bathroom. Close the doors and get as low as you possibly can. If you lose power and use the generator, do safely and never indoors, as the governor's already indicated. Once the storm passes, listen to your local authorities for updates. There may be situations where it's not safe for you to return back to your home. You can call ahead. You can talk to your local sheriff's office, your local police department, and see if they have anything that may be dangerous to where your area cannot actually be accessed. There's nothing more frustrating than coming back into an area after a disaster and you can't actually make it to your home. So call ahead and see if the area is accessible before you spend all the time in traffic trying to get back to your residence. Do not attempt to clean up hazardous debris or down power lines. Make sure you report the damage to local authorities. If you have damage, make sure you're calling your local emergency management agency or local 911 center. Please do not mess with power lines that are wrapped up in trees. If you do need assistance, as the governor said, you can call the State Assistance Information Line, 1-800-342-3557. Again, that's 1-800-342-3557. We have talked about this in just about every press conference we've done, but do not do dangerous things after the disaster. If you need help, we will send you help. If you need help, your local county emergency management agency will send you the help. We have folks like Team Rubicon, the Southern Baptist Disaster Relief, the Methodist, the Catholic Charities, Salvation Army, United Way. All of these agencies will come and help you take the debris off your house. They will help you take the debris out of your yard. They will get on ladders themselves with people that are trained to do so. And that is free of charge. Don't take the risk. Use the free assistance. You can always follow us at floridadisaster.org/updates for latest information, or you can follow us at FLSERT on X and Instagram, and on Facebook at FDEM and for real-time updates. And again, thank you very much, Governor.
So this is a big storm. It's a powerful Category 4 storm, but it's also just very large, and it's going to have impacts are being felt, have been felt, and will continue to be felt far and wide. And so when Floridians wake up tomorrow morning, we're going to be waking up to a state where very likely there's been additional loss of life, and certainly there's going to be loss of property. You're going to have people that are going to lose their homes because of this storm. And so please keep those folks in mind, keep them in your prayers. We've got a lot of folks here that have been lined up, ready, mobilized for days now, ready to go and provide support. Kevin listed some of the nonprofit groups that are going to be here. Of course, the local officials and the local emergency response folks, first responders, they're going to be there. So there's going to be a lot of assistance that's going to be brought to bear. But the reality is, a storm of this magnitude, it leaves a lot of damage in its wake. And so I don't think we're necessarily getting the full pictures of it right now, just because so much of the impact has been in the nighttime and will continue through the wee hours of the morning. But I think when we get the sunlight back up and people are able to go out and take stock, you're going to see some serious damage. So it's not anything that we can't handle as a state. We're very good at being gritting through this stuff, and we know that's just part of life when you live in a tropical climate, but it is going to be difficult for an awful lot of people. So everyone that's been involved, thank you. Everyone out there offering your thoughts and prayers, thank you as well. Okay, any questions? Yes.
What's your reaction seeing the storm in Taylor County after we've had Adalia and Debbie also in Taylor County?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, I think Kevin and I were talking. I think their EM director resigned going in when they saw this storm could come to big, because it's going to be 3 storms in a little over a year. What is it, 13, 14 months basically? And this one is, I think, hit landfall stronger than Adalia did. And Adalia was a major hurricane. Debbie was not as strong, but Debbie left a lot of water in its wake, and so you have relatively under-resourced community that is having to do that. Now we're going to be there, we're going to be helping, but it isn't easy when you work hard to recover from Adalia, then you get Debbie, and it's like, oh man, and then you get another big one come right on top of you. So it's not going to be easy, but we'll be there. We'll get through it.
I know you mentioned the one fatality. Is that the only one that you know of right now?
It's the only one that we know of. But as I said, we wake up tomorrow morning, the chances are there will likely have been more fatalities. It's just when a storm is this big and this strong, there's so many different things.
And that's Governor DeSantis giving an update at the EOC here in Tallahassee. Again, the governor confirming Florida's first fatality in a traffic incident down in Tampa on I-4 down there. Also, we want to mention we have a sheriff reporting 2 fatalities in Georgia north of Valdosta. So we'll share some more information on that with you as well. And, saying that this storm, unfortunately, is very, very powerful Cat 4 storm, winds of 140 miles an hour, made landfall in Taylor County just minutes ago.
Around 11:10 p.m., the strongest hurricane ever to hit the Big Bend in recorded history, coming 13 months after what was then the strongest hurricane ever to hit the Big Bend in Adalia. So a heartbreaking gut punch, one after the other.
Yes.
And Taylor County is on our minds. We're going to check in with the Taylor County Emergency Management Director in a moment. He's going to join us. But we want to take a look outside if we can. I believe we have Madison County pulled up, but instead we'll go right outside our doors here in Tallahassee and check in with Josh Green. And Josh, what's the condition here in Tallahassee right now?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Jacob, the conditions here in Tallahassee are not nearly as bad as what they are for our friends in Taylor County and what they are about to be in spots like Madison, even like Jefferson, Lafayette County as well. And even as we start to move further north into some of our South Georgia counties, spots like Brooks and Lowndes, they're going to be up next. If you're thinking about what's happening right here in Tallahassee, we've got sustained winds of about 30 to 40 miles per hour, and we do have wind gusts around 40 to 50 miles per hour. So those are enough to start bringing down some trees. Those are enough to start knocking out the power as well. Again, it's not quite as destructive as what it is right around the core of the storm, and especially on the eastern side of it. That's what's just going through spots like Taylor County right now. But you can see here in Leon County, still very gusty winds out here. The trees are moving, especially the really tall ones. I've already seen some reports of some downed trees as well. If you're wondering about the timing, what's the worst of it for Tallahassee, Leon County? That's going to be pretty much from right now up until about 1 a.m. Once we get to around 1 o'clock, that's when it's going to start to pull further enough north that the conditions will slowly but surely start to get a little bit better out there. So we've still got some time to ride this out, but if you're talking just in terms of Tallahassee, certainly missed the worst part of this storm that, as we are going to see once the sun comes up, caused a lot of problems there in Taylor County, and I do believe we're about to speak with some folks over there. So we'll continue to update you on what's going on here in Tallahassee over the next hour or two until this thing finally starts to pull back to the north. But again, just coming in right now, a pretty gusty winds, again, around 40 to 50 miles per hour. That is tropical storm force winds, not up to hurricane strength. Still have that potential. We're still riding it out, all right? I'll have more updates coming up, but for now, we'll send it back to you, Jacob.
All right, Josh, thank you so much. And we want to turn things over now to the Emergency Management Director in Taylor County, John Lauk, once again joining us on the phone. Thank you so much for doing so. I know your county is under the gun right now, and we just made more history, the wrong kind of history, with another landfall, the strongest hurricane ever to hit the Big Bend. How are you, sir, and how are the deputies in the sheriff's office there and the other emergency management folks right now?
Well, everybody's still hunkered down right now. We're still monitoring everything. Of course, it's dark outside. It's hard to get any kind of ideas, especially about the damage. Most of the county is in the eye at the time, so we're, I guess, enjoying a little bit of peace. But we did have some horrendous winds coming through, and now we're waiting on the back side of the eye wall. And we're currently watching the water graphs and just watching those water levels as I'm afraid they're starting to creep up.
Yeah, Mr. Lauk, this, maybe a few moments of quiet before the storm continues to intensify there. The governor was just talking about Taylor County in his briefing, that you've had 3 landfalling hurricanes in 13 months. How are you feeling? How do you think residents there are feeling as you prepare to open the doors when the sun comes up and face what's there?
Well, I'm sure, it's just a natural feeling to be a little disheartened, and like you say, it feels like you've been punched in the stomach. But Taylor County is a strong county. It's a resilient county, and we're going to, like you say, open the doors in the morning when the sun comes up, and we're all going to get to work and help each other and just hit it running.
Yeah, we have no doubt Taylor County will respond, and the evidence is what we've seen this past year with Idalia and how folks there have responded. What can residents there do right now to make deputies' lives easier come sunrise? What can folks who are not in the county do right now, and folks that did ride out the storm do right now to make your lives easier?
Well, the most important thing that everybody can do right now is to stay off of the roads until first responders and the cut teams and the cut and toss teams can get out there, assess the situation, get the roads cleared, give times for our electrical companies to get out there and make sure that the power lines that are down are safe. We're going to try to be responding to help those people that may be injured, people that may be trapped. And it may sound harsh, but we just don't need a bunch of people out there in our way when we're trying to respond to help other folks.
Mr. Lauk, I'm sure you're probably getting calls and emails from folks who are concerned throughout your community tonight. Give us some idea Do you have any reports yet of storm surge, of high waters, of roads closed, trees down, things like that? What are you receiving as far as information from folks who live there?
Well, right now, with the storm coming to us, it appears that the water was actually being pulled out. I've been on the phone with the National Weather Service, obviously, and at this time, we're just looking for that water to be pulled in by the backside of the storm, with now the wind changing to that northerly direction. So we're just, again, on standby, waiting to see what's going to happen with the storm surge.
Right, and we remember those images from Steinhatchee of the storm surge, the incredible storm surge from last year. So we could see that play out again, unfortunately, and as you said, that storm surge threat is still potentially in front of us. So any other message you want Taylor County residents to know right now, Mr. Lauk?
Well, we are starting to get, just a side note, we are starting to get water coming in 6 and 7 feet above ground in the southern end of the county. Just people, you just hang tight, and if you're in trouble, we are coming to get you. And like I say, we're all going to pull together and make it through.
Okay, John Lauk, the Emergency Management Director in Taylor County, joining us. Thank you, sir, for your time. I know it's been a very busy day and night, and we're all thinking of all the fine folks out there in Taylor County. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Well, we want to take a look now at Doctors Memorial Hospital in Taylor County. These are their front doors.
Right.
Jacob, tell us exactly what we're looking at here.
Yeah, that's a hospital bed wedged into the sliding doors at Doctors Memorial Hospital in Taylor County. I just received this photo from the CEO, Lauren Faison-Clark, who is going to hopefully join us over the phone in the next 10, 20 minutes to talk about what she's seeing. She's riding out the storm. This is her photo. And this is a similar photo, actually, to what she sent me 13 months ago when I was in communication in the early morning hours of the Adalia landfall and how they were trying to keep the patients safe and the facility safe, and they've had to do repairs over the last year to get the hospital in good condition. So no word on if the hospital was seeing any patients, storm-related patients. I'm hoping we'll get some information from her when she joins us live in a little bit.
And I recall during Adalia, too, you could see the storm outside of those glass doors.
Right.
Just what a sight there. Certainly Taylor County bearing the brunt of this storm so far this evening as Helene makes landfall right there along the Taylor County coast.
All right, I believe we have another view outside in Madison County, another county under the gun right now, and hard to make out a lot, but you can tell it's a hectic scene out there. The camera is shaking from those strong wind gusts.
And is this Boot Hill that we're looking at?
It's the EOC there.
It's the EOC in Madison County. Yeah, really difficult to tell what you're looking at. You can see the intense rain falling there and the wind shaking the camera. Certainly Madison County impacted by extreme winds as well tonight. So even though that's a little bit further inland, they are feeling the full force of Helene as well.
And I know lives are the #1 priority right now. I am crossing my fingers, though, that new scoreboard at Boot Hill survives the storm, just because we were just out there a couple weeks ago to talk about its debut, and I was out at Boot Hill last week shooting football, so really hoping for the best for the stadium, but of course the people there as well.
Well, certainly for the entire community, all our communities who are in the line of this storm tonight, we just want you to know that we are here for you, and we'll continue to update you with the information, be as helpful as we can throughout these next few hours. If power is out where you are, you do have some options to continue to receive critical information from our First Alert weather team and our news team as they are out this evening. You have the WCTV app, of course. We encourage you to download that now if you haven't done so already. Also, we want to mention we've been partnering with iHeartRadio, and there are 6 radio stations in this area who are simulcasting this information right now as another option for you to receive this really important information on Hurricane Helene.
Okay, let's check in again with Mike. And Mike, we now have landfall, 11:10 p.m., so about half an hour ago.
Right, and officially, it's in the area that was between the Osceola River and Deacle Beach, which is a relatively unpopulated, undeveloped area of Taylor County. So, but that also means that the stuff just to the right of that came into Deacle Beach, Keaton Beach, Steinhatchee. So Keaton Beach, Steinhatchee, names that we've heard before from Adalia and with Debbie and now with Helene. So it has moved inland as a Category 4, we'll start to see some weakening. It's already started to happen, so that's the best news we can say, and it's still moving quickly, 24 miles per hour off toward the northeast. So that will race it up through South Georgia and get it up near Atlanta by the time we get to sunrise, still as a tropical storm, which means it will still throw some incredible winds throughout a good part of our viewing area. So sustained winds. Farther north and west you go, no big deal. And a lot of these sustained winds, the 1 minute averages, are not that bad. But it's the gusts which have been bad. Now, while the current gust in Perry is 53, about 10 minutes ago, there was a gust to 99. We've already seen gusts from the weather stem stations at Wacalla High, hit 101, at Alligator Point, hitting 103. Madison High right now, gusting to 61. So really from the Suwannee River up to Valdosta to Thomasville. Thomasville's had some gusts over 50 miles per hour. Tallahassee right now gusting to 53. So these are all plenty strong enough to create a lot more power outages. So this is just exactly what was expected. If there's some good news is that right now the gusts farther north and west, not so bad. Now this area still has a lot more wind to come. Moultrie to Thomasville. You're not done with this by any stretch. Homerville especially. But Bainbridge to Quincy, I still think that as this center continues to move inland, you're still likely to see some wind gusts which could exceed 50 miles per hour. So the future cast winds as we go through the next hour or so, we could still see some gusts to 70 miles per hour in Tallahassee. And even though the center is moving inland, see the counterclockwise change in the wind direction arrows, look at Lafayette High and Live Oak. The worst may still be to come as far as those wind gusts. It's still possible that you could see some wind gusts getting up close to 100 miles per hour. And that could include Valdosta by the time we get to 130. Also up to Tifton. Here you can kind of pick out the center and the much lighter winds in the middle in Moultrie. But that means that they'll get hit twice. If that center moves over you, you're going to hit with the northern half and the southern half. A lot of the strongest winds we've seen so far have actually been on the western side. That's the stuff we saw at Wacalla High and at Alligator Point. By 3:30, still windy in Tifton, still windy everywhere, but starting to get below 50 miles per hour, even getting below 40 miles per hour in spots. But it's a west wind, so a lot of trees that may be blowing with the southerly wind one side, and then they get that westerly wind, or maybe get a north wind and then a west wind as the circulation moves on by. It's still going to make a lot more entire trees, or maybe the top halves of pine trees, which love to snap off somewhere, as we saw with some of the tornadoes. By the time we get to late morning hours, getting closer to lunchtime, the winds will be down to around 20 to 25. So that's looking at all the winds. Now let's look at the radar. Not too difficult to find this center as it moves through Taylor County. So made landfall just to the northwest of Deacle Beach and just to the southeast of the mouth of the Osceola River. So that's your Jefferson-Taylor County line. Look at the real intense band, which is now moving through Mayo and moving into Live Oak and back into Lee and Madison and over into Greenville, up toward Monticello, not too far from Miccosukee. Tallahassee, kind of in between some of the heavier bands. One band has moved a little farther west, so Quincy, Havana, Midway, down through the Apalachicola National Forest, just west of Crawfordville, but just the other side of Alligator Point, so not too far from Shell Point. I've seen lots and lots of gusts in the 50 to 60 mile per hour range with some of the other weather substations, but we've seen them as high as 103. That was the one at Alligator Point. So there's the motion. We'll start with the Big Bend. There's your center, and there's the intense stuff all wrapping around the center, including, and now it looks like got some lightning showing up over parts of Gadsden County. So that's a little extra energy there. That could translate down to some damaging wind gusts through parts of Gadsden County, across Lake Talquin, perhaps down around the Fort Braden or Bloxham areas, and down into the Apalachicola National Forest. Get up into South Georgia. The worst is just now starting to creep up into South Georgia. It's getting near the state line. We've already seen some gusts exceeding 50 miles per hour. And even though the extreme southwest Georgia will definitely see a lot less of the impact, some of these bands very easily could have 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts. So Bainbridge, even as far west as, say, Donaldsonville. So this, I actually drew this about 10 minutes ago, so you can look at all these numbers and realize that basically, as I said, the worst of it is now crossing over into South Georgia, which means it's happening. There we go. Cameron has adjusted it for me as we speak. So this area is in the worst of it happening right now and could be for at least another hour. And then it'll translate more into South Georgia. But even though it's moving quickly, it's so large, it's still going to take a while. So small systems that move slowly, a lot fewer people get impacted by it. But here, even though it's moving so rapidly, it's so big. We're talking about 100 miles across here of the big impacts. So yeah, maybe you don't get the worst of it. Be grateful with that, because here's where we're seeing the worst winds. Based on Doppler radar, two particular spots. One over Appalachia Bay that's been coming across Wakulla County, now moving into coastal Taylor and coastal Jefferson. And then this spot, moving over Madison, northeastern Jefferson, creeping up into southern parts of Brooks counties. Let's go ahead and just do what we call a query, where we just look and look at a couple of spots and see what the Doppler radar is measuring within some of these areas. It can pick out the direction or the speed of the wind. Now, this does not mean that we're getting 116 mile per hour winds at the surface, but it is measuring from the radar, which is not that far away. So Tallahassee to Madison, I guess that's probably about 50 miles from the radar to that spot. So it's shooting up a little bit up into the air. It's not at ground level, but 116 mile per hour winds are there aloft. And with the extremely heavy rain coming down, those can still get pushed down to the surface. You get down to near some of this stuff down toward the coast, easily 70 to 80. So maybe this part is getting a little bit weaker. So that's good news. Still, at times, it was over 100 miles per hour, now running around 80 to 90. Weaker is better. It needs to just hurry up and do that. But the bottom line is that this is all moving off toward the northeast, and this is what will continue to spread through the area over the next about 2 to 3 hours. So with all that in mind, the extreme wind warning has been extended up into South Georgia for a couple more hours, of course, because that's where we fully expect to see the worst of those winds, which could possibly top 100 miles per hour. The rainfall, haven't talked as much about that, and really heavy, fast rainfall rates coming down with that core of the stuff, and repeated rain coming down on the backside. So we could easily add another 3 or 4 inches of rainfall to what's already fallen. While our eastern counties haven't seen the big totals, you're going to get the intense rates. Our western counties have already seen some big totals, so another inch or two for you could aggravate the flooding situations. You don't want to be out driving anyway, but there will be some flash flooding that you're going to have to watch out for. So I'll wrap it up by just looking at the big picture one more time. The center made landfall officially as a Cat 4 with 140 mile an hour winds between Deacle Beach and the mouth of the Osceola River, but still it's a large system. This south side should start to weaken as far as the rainfall goes pretty rapidly during the next hour, and so conditions will improve quickly from south to north, but not until all of that moves by. Back to you guys.
All right, Mike, we'll be in touch with you in a moment. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Well, and as you saw, the bands of that storm still lashing Franklin County, Wakulla County, all of our counties. So whether you're inland or along the coast, this storm having a big impact tonight. We want to check in with Captain Jeffrey Yarborough with the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office right now. Captain, thank you for joining us. I wanted to ask what you're experiencing there at the Sheriff's Office tonight in terms of wind and rain and power and reports of damage.
Well, I mean, it's still pretty windy here, and it was, an hour or so ago, it was extremely windy, probably stronger than I have ever witnessed in my time here. We are beginning to get some reports of downed trees, and we have one reported tree on a house. I do believe everybody is okay in that incident, but we're still unable to respond to any calls right now, so we're kind of waiting and seeing. Certainly our hearts go out to Taylor County for them getting impacted yet again with another storm. For us, it's kind of a wait and see at the moment. We know with this much wind and rain, we're going to have a lot of downed trees, probably some property damage, but it's hard to assess until we're able to get back out there and the sun comes up.
Right, and the wind in the west side of the core, our meteorologists were saying, was almost as intense as what they were seeing on the east side. So Wakulla certainly not out of the line of fire. Any sense, though, on the coastal communities right now? Any storm surge reports? I know Panacea and Shell Point so close to the water there. Any reports there?
Based off of what I was able to witness on some of the webcams that are available and just some reports in, we may have had a little bit, but I do think with the timing and the direction that the storm came in for our county, we were largely spared the worst of any of those predictions. I mean, we may find out a little bit more as the day comes on, but I do think that was largely what we were very concerned about leading up to the storm, and I think that those predictions didn't come to fruition this time, which we're thankful for.
And Captain, you did have mandatory county-wide evacuations. They're not just those coastal communities with the threat of storm surge, but the entire county. Have you seen people who have responded to those orders? Do you feel that people took this storm seriously?
It looks like to us that people largely did heed the evacuation orders and take it seriously. And while I'm sure that we're going to have some damage and there's going to be impact to our community, the message I would like to get out now while we're dealing with it in the aftermath is that if things are better than they anticipated or we were worrying about leading up to the storm, I hope that citizens don't take away from it the next time, that they don't have to heed those warnings, because 24 hours ago, the predictions for our community were dire and catastrophic, and had things not shifted at the last minute, we could have been dealing with those. And so we're thankful for that, obviously. I mean, even though we're still going to have some impacts, we're thankful that it wasn't what we were looking at yesterday, but that doesn't mean that people shouldn't pay attention in the future.
Yeah, and to your point, the Sheriff's Office in Taylor County is certainly grateful the folks in Taylor heeded those warnings for the most part, because they are certainly dealing with some unprecedented winds and rain. So any final message you want to get out to Wakulla County citizens going into tomorrow as the cleanup begins?
Our message is largely the same as what the officials from Taylor County were stating. We understand that there's a desire to get out, and if you evacuated, come back home or to kind of see what's going on. But we do ask as much as possible people kind of hold off and take their time in returning and allow emergency services the opportunity to get out, clean things up. If there is any damage or debris that needs to be removed, it's just so much easier to do those things when there's not a lot of people on the roadway.
All right, Captain Yarborough, thank you so much, sir, for joining us tonight. And, of course, we continue to wish you and your responding deputies, when they're able to get outside, safety as they assess damage and help folks out. Thank you, sir.
And
thank you so much.
Thank you, Captain. And just to speak to Wakulla County, I was speaking to Jack Rudlow this time yesterday, or a little earlier yesterday, and he was talking about how his Gulf Specimen Marine Lab was boarding up yesterday. They shipped out their rehabbing sea turtles away from Wakulla County to try to protect them. The other marine life, though, had to stay behind. And as Captain Yarborough said, the forecast for Wakulla was potentially catastrophic, and Jack Rudlow told me he's just hoping there was a marine lab to return to. No word on what Panacea is like tonight, so I don't want to make any assumptions, but hopefully the Rudlows can rest at least slightly easier, hoping that their wonderful marine lab is still there.
Right, and we certainly hope that when the sun comes up tomorrow that the damages won't be extensive in Wakulla County or Franklin County, but again, we're waiting to hear more about the storm surge, and of course, anytime there's wind in this neck of the woods, there are trees coming down. So
right.
Captain Yarborough did mention the tree on a house there, and we're so thankful that nobody was injured. We want to go ahead and take a look at a weather cam right here in Tallahassee. This is pointed over downtown. You can see the Capitol there in the distance, both the old and new Capitals, and certainly the wind buffeting that camera as we speak, and it looks like there's still plenty of rain coming down here in the heart of downtown Tallahassee.
Yeah, not a time to be outside. Hopefully everyone has decided to call it a night and stayed inside as this storm moves through. As we had said before the hurricane arrived, that Tallahassee had never seen sustained hurricane force winds. We'll check in with Mike and Cameron in a little bit. I don't think that's going to change with this storm, which is obviously good news for folks in Tallahassee, but still, those gusts can still cause plenty of outages, and we're seeing lots of power outages everywhere in our viewing area.
Absolutely, and as we're here in the studio, we kind of hear waves of water and waves of wind coming through. So, as each of those bands in the storm churns through, we're going to continue to see these power outages rise. Let's check in right now with Abby Walton for an update on outages throughout our area. And Abby, more and more to report.
Well, Julie, you were just talking about those waves of gust. I actually just stepped outside of the WCTV studios maybe 20, 25 minutes ago, and you could see, it was like, oh, okay, it's raining, and then a gust would come through. And those winds are really starting to pick up. I was talking with some of our friends on Facebook, and they were saying that power across, Leon, Gadsden, Wakulla areas, intermittent, they're starting to go out. People in our South Georgia counties, a lot of them are saying, we still have power, but we're kind of bracing for it. We want to go through some of those outages because they are starting to get so immense. We're going to start with Talquin Electric right now. Again, this just went up. A little more than 25,000 people if you have Talquin Electric without power at this hour. Let's take a look at Tallahassee. Let's refresh this here and take a look. All right, this went up as well. Almost a little more than 30,000 people in Tallahassee without power at this hour. We're gonna go to Duke Energy as well and refresh that, and let's see where we are right now. Let's get it towards our area and open this up a little bit if we are able to. There we go. You can see towards Apalachicola area, 3,000. This area near Crawfordville, Wakulla area, 6,000. This has definitely gone up. You can see as you get closer to where that landfall was made in that Taylor County, and as it kind of goes up, you're seeing the bulk of it right there with 12,000 people without power in that area. I'm going to cross over real quick to get to here. We are Swanee Valley. Let's take a look. Let's do that and refresh and see where we are here. Let's see. We have about 28,000 people without power right now. Let's take a look at the county. You can see Hamilton County, Swanee County. Take a look at that. Almost 19,000 people without power right now. Hamilton, almost 4K. Lafayette County, a little more than 3.6. Let's go to Tri-County. Let me refresh that. Take a look here. We have about 20,000 people without power right now. You can see the bulk, of course, coming from Taylor County, Madison, where Helene has made landfall. And then finally, let's take a look. Let's see right here. Oh, I think we are finished right there. But as you can see, they're just continuing to increase and increase as the night goes on. And again, just because the winds, they're getting those gusts, trees are falling on power lines. Here's the silver lining out of all of this. Two things I want to leave you before I send it back to Julie and Jacob. The governor has stationed so many linemen. They are in Alabama. They're in Jacksonville. They are stationed ready to come in as soon as it is safe to do so and start restoring those power lines. Unfortunately, they've kind of have it down to a science now. They've been able to, have so many storms, but that has been able to get things in a more streamlined process so they can get our power on faster. Also, if you know your friends, family members, if they are without power, text them. Say, hey, you can still watch WCTV through our Facebook streaming, our WCTV news app. If you turn on the radio, our iHeartMedia partners, you can turn on the radio. They're streaming us right now, broadcasting our feed. So lots of different ways to still get the information up. If you take a live look at your screen right now, there are the radio stations. You can hear our broadcast right now. Okay, Julie and Jacob, I am going to send things back to you again. We're going to continue monitoring the situation. But again, in these counties right now, as you can see, they're starting to deteriorate. Again, I've been talking with some people in South Georgia counties. They're saying we're still good for now. And it's that for now part that they're kind of bracing for the impact.